when I first felt called to ministry, I started out in a very small Bible college until they kicked me out. And it was an honor. And I took the Gospel of John, and it was like a 6-month class just on the Gospel of John. And I really fell in love with that Gospel. It still speaks to me today. I think it's one of those Gospels where you can read it and kind of grasp it on one level, but you can never truly grasp the depth that the Gospel of John challenges us with. Even as you continue on this journey of faith, there's always something new that you can discover when you read it. There's a lot to this story today, and I'm not going to bash the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman. Very interesting, her story. She wasn't looking for a man. Not this woman. She'd already made 5 trips down the aisle. But yet when you look at it, in those times, women were dependent on men. Not only economically, but also for protection. So on that hot afternoon in Samaria, all she wanted was a drink, drawn by her own hand, out of Jacob's well. But God had another plan for her. Jesus arrives at the well, and he also, being tired and thirsty, wants a drink from the well. A moment of relief during the heat of the day. He was tired from his journey, and so he sat down to rest. I like to see Jesus getting tired and thirsty and wanting to stop and rest. It reminds us that he's a Savior who has been there. He gets it. He knows what it's like to struggle on this earth. He understands our exhaustion, our stress, our muscle aches. He knows what it means to be weary and thirsty, hungry and tired. And so then this woman shows up in the heat of the day. We never get her name. She goes by either the woman at the well or the Samaritan woman. Something very telling in this story, even though John doesn't bring it out. She didn't go when the other women were there. She was different. First, she was a Samaritan, a race of people that the Jews utterly despised as having no claim on their God. And she was an outcast and looked down upon by her own people. This is evidenced by the fact that she came alone to draw water from the community well, when during biblical times, drawing water and chatting at the well was a social high point of a woman's day. But this woman had been ostracized and marked as immoral, because now she not only had 5 husbands, but now she was an unmarried woman living openly with the 6th and a series of men. I probably wouldn't have gotten married at the 6th one either. Just saying. And she encounters Jesus, a stranger. When he asks her for a drink, she knew what that meant. In their world, giving and receiving water was an open invitation. Let's become friends. Let's talk. She kind of pushed back at Jesus, reminding him of their differences. How can a Jewish man like you ask me, a Samaritan woman, for a drink of water? But Jesus is never concerned with issues of race or gender. She had come for well water to satisfy her thirst, and yet this stranger promised her living water. So naturally, she was skeptical. Who wouldn't be? You have nothing to draw with, she reminded Jesus. You don't even have a bucket. Despite her doubts, though, Jesus didn't give up on her. He didn't walk away or call her foolish, and he didn't stop seeking to meet her deepest need. He makes a movement towards the well, and he says, everyone who drinks from this well will be thirsty again. Nothing on this earth will truly satisfy you. Not even good things, not even things like fresh water or warm sunshine or healthy food or the love of a good person can quench our spiritual longing. If we settle for the kind of water that this world offers, we will soon be thirsty again. Amen. Guaranteed. But whoever drinks the water that I give to them will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give to that person will become a spring of water welling up to eternal life. Amen. Their conversation continued, discussing about the one true God. And the woman wraps it up by saying, I know that the Messiah will come, And he is the one that we will call Christ. And when he comes, he will explain everything to us. And that's when Jesus comes out to the Samaritan woman. And he says, I am that one, and I am speaking to you now. Now, about that time, his ragtag followers came back and were surprised to see Jesus talking with a woman, because it just wasn't done back in those days. Men stayed with the men, and women stayed with the women. Many of us would probably have liked it back then. But none of them asked him what he wanted or why he was talking with her. The woman ends up leaving her water jar there and going back into the village. And she goes and tells the people, come and see a man who told me everything I have ever done. Could he be the Messiah? So everyone in the village runs out to go see Jesus. And he ends up actually staying with them for a few days. It's easy to see why the woman at the well left her water jug behind when she went to the village. Her thirst was quenched, her future seemed secure, and all she could think about was sharing this living waters with the other villagers. Amen. When you think about it, Samaritans were outcast, and many of us in this room can relate to being an outcast at one time or another in our life. Yeah. Maybe you didn't fit in school, maybe you didn't fit in college or at your job, maybe you didn't fit in with your family. But many of us can associate with what it feels like to be on the outside. And the woman at the well was a double outcast, because first she was a Samaritan, but then she didn't have a good reputation. So she was probably pretty lonely. We find, though, that as we go through life, hopefully we discover community, a place where we can be affirmed and celebrated, a place where God's love shines and echoes throughout the walls. I believe that Jesus offers us living waters that will quench our thirst. So I want you just to kind of think back for a minute. I imagine you weren't at Jacob's well, but where did Jesus find you in your life journey? What was going on in your life at the time when you first encountered him, when you first knew him? He offered you something different, offered you something that the world could not take away. Think about that. I can remember when I first encountered Jesus, and I had gone to Methodist church for many years. We used to have to go. Have you ever had to go to church as a kid? We even had to walk to church. My mother wouldn't go. She'd sleep in. We had to walk. And I guess it built character. I don't know. But I had never really encountered Jesus until the year 1970. And that was when I knew that my life would be forever different. When you first found Jesus, did it change your life forever? So now think back to this summer. Did you encounter Jesus throughout this summer? As you made your journeys, or just if you stayed home and hung out during the summer? Think about that. And has Jesus changed your life so much that you could be like that woman at the well who's willing to go back to the village and share with others the good news of Jesus? Someone that can quench their thirst, give them waters that are living waters to drink from. Today's a special day as we welcome people back from vacation, as we begin to celebrate fall and moving into winter. And as we join our waters today, it's a symbol that we are community with each other. And I want to talk just a little bit about community, because Andy and I were talking about this last night. And he and I, when we get together, it can be dangerous sometimes. We were talking about what it means to be in community with each other, what it means to love the person you're sitting next to, even if you don't care for some of the ways they act at times. You know, I always say to people, you don't have to like somebody, but you're called to love them. You might not like the things that they do, the words they say, but we're called to love each other. Especially if we've joined our hands and our hearts and our spirits together to make a commitment to being in the same faith community together. And I always like to say, and this is kind of one of my guiding principles in ministry, is that I believe that relationships and people that are here are far more important than any building that we have, rules we might have, any regulations we have which we don't, any guidelines that we think we want to impose on somebody else. And that we want to treat each other in here with love and respect and kindness. Sometimes we like to tell people what to do or what not to do. And I don't think that's what Jesus calls us to do.
Amen.
Imagine for a moment that you're the woman at the well. What keeps you, perhaps, from going back and sharing the good news of Christ with those around you? Maybe you do share, I don't know. They say most people that come here, when they check their visitor card, the welcome card, say that it was somebody that invited them to come to the church. And I think that's so important that we think about sharing our ministry. I went into a store the other day, and as I was wrapping up my purchases with the cashier, we got on the subject of churches or something, and I shared with her that I was a clergywoman and invited her to come to church and told her where we were. Sometimes it's hard for me, when we were talking about the coming out event that we're doing on October 11th. Andy said, are you going to share a story? And I said, I want to share a story about coming out with my faith, because sometimes it's hard to come out with your faith in today's world. People are very cynical, especially I think if you're connected with the LGBTQ community. They're even more cynical. And I don't blame them, because churches have not been kind to them. Our challenge today, as we mingle our waters together, is to make a commitment to love one another, to serve each other as we serve God together. Our other challenge is to be willing to share these living waters with others who still are seeking and searching, who are people who are thirsty and longing to feel God's love. I had the opportunity to talk with a new person the other day, and they said, your church is so warm and welcoming and real. And I said, thank you very much. We're not perfect, don't want to be perfect, but we do try to love one another, and we do try to make people feel welcome. There is a place for you here at this faith community.
Hallelujah.
You don't have to fit in. You can fit in on the way you want to fit in. We don't all have to think the same thing, believe the same thing, act the same way. But there is a place for you here.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to invite you, as you feel led, to bring your waters forward and just to put them in the bowl over there. There's little water things over here. Think about this community. Think about your faith journey. Think about when you first encountered the living Christ and what that meant for you, how it might have changed your life. And ask yourself, are you willing to share these waters with others? Choir's going to come forward and close this segment out with a song. Once they're in place, I'm just going to say a prayer, a blessing of the water. And I pray that if you came forward and mingled your water, or if you didn't come forward, may you know that you have a place here, a place that you can call home, a place where you fit in, where you belong, a place where when you're not here on a Sunday, you are missed, and a part of us is not complete. And if your journey is taking you to lands far away from here, or even not so far away, know that we are with you always in spirit. And may the God of all creation, the God of the living waters, watch over you. Amen.